Hi everyone. So this is the another important property of object-oriented programming, that is inheritance. What do you mean by inheritance? It's the same grammatical meaning that here we have class, right? And the capability of a class to derive the properties and characteristics from another class, right? We know we inherit the property of our parents, we inherit our characteristics of parents, right? So likewise, a class can derive the properties and characteristics from another class, which is known as the inheritance. And the class which derived from another class is known as the derived class, otherwise subclass. And the class whose properties are inherited is the superclass, otherwise base class. Let us consider an example to see how this inheritance works. We know that bus, car, truck will all have the properties like fuel amount, capacity, apply brakes, right? But these three are different entities, right? These three are different type of vehicles, right? So we will group together in a base class known as the class vehicle, okay? We will group together in a base class known as the class vehicle, which have the properties like fuel amount, capacity, apply brakes. And from this, three derived class like bus, car, truck. So when we use a program, we didn't have to repeat the program of each thing, because we didn't have to repeat the properties of each thing like each bus, car, truck, because they share common properties like these three things. They have another different entities like their shape, their color, their engine speed. Everything may be different, but still these three were common to these three things, right? So we will group together it in a class vehicle. So this class vehicle will be the superclass, otherwise the base class, and the class bus, car, truck will be the derived class or subclass. Okay, so the derived class will inherit the member functions. So here these are the functions, right? So the member functions of the base class. Okay, the derived class will inherit the member functions as well as the data types or the datas of the base class. So how we will implement the inheritance? How we will implement the inheritance? Here first of all the class, and we have to derive something. So that is the subclass name, and access mode we have learned, that is public, private or protected. Now the base class name and body of the subclass. Considering this as the example, the subclass name will be the car or bus or truck. Okay, whereas the base class will be the vehicle, and if we have to inherit it in a public mode, then we will write it as class car public vehicle. Okay, now there will be the body of this vehicle, like body of the car, right? And then this car has some other properties which will be written within this bracket, and there will be a semicolon because we know that the class ends in a semicolon. Here the subclass name is the name of the subclass. Access mode is the mode in which you want to inherit this subclass, right? And the private member, if we declare this private, then what will happen? The private of the derived class, sorry, the private of the main class will not be inherited to the subclass. We know that in private mode we couldn't inherit or we couldn't give it to another class. So likewise, if our members, if any of our members is in private mode, then we couldn't inherit it. So that is this sentence meaning. Now there is a simple program to understand the working of inheritance. So here there will be a class rectangle and there will be a subclass known as area. So in this rectangle area, there will be some data members, that is length and breadth are public. So declared as public, and there is a member function like void read data, and here we have to read it like cout enter the length of the rectangle. We are using the rectangle class. So this is an example, okay. So and C in L, cout enter the breadth of the rectangle C in B. Now we will declare a subclass, and here our subclass is the area and our base class is the rectangle. Okay, so the base class is the rectangle and subclass is the area. Here also there will be some body like public, the member function is void calc. And here we have declared it as public. That means the each members are transferred to the derived class as public members. That means the length, breadth, everything will be public. So when we call a1.calc, what will happen? a1.calc, that means the control will be here, and here we have to find the length and breadth, and this L and B is inherited from the base class itself. So this is the program to understand the inheritance. But if we write here it as private, if the L and B is private, if we call this, the program will be error, because this class, that is the area, could not inherit the private properties of the rectangle or the base class. Okay, so this is a simple program to understand the inheritance. And now the next important topic is there are three modes of inheritance: public mode, protected mode, and private mode. In public mode, the subclass, we will declare it as public, right? And if we derive a subclass from a public base class, then it is public mode. Then the public members of the base class will become the public in the derived class, as in this example, right? And in the protected mode, if our base class is in protected mode, if we declare it as protected, then what will happen? All these members will become the protected members to this subclass. In the protected class, we can inherit the property, so there is no problem. So if we derive a subclass from a protected base class, then both public member, protected member will become the protected in the derived class. Private mode means if we declare it as private, then what will happen? All the private things, if we derive a subclass from a private base class, then both public member and protected member of the base class will become the private in derived class. Okay, will become the private in derived class. So what will happen? If we declare it as private, then everything will be in private mode. Then L and B here in this derived class also, this in private mode. Then what will happen? Outside the class it could not be accessed. Then if we write it as a1.calc, we couldn't find it because the L and B is declared inside here, it as private. So according to the modes of inheritance, there are three types: public, private, protected. Like access modifiers are also public, private, protected. So likewise inheritance is also public, private, protected. If we write here, that is the class, subclass, before the base class, if we write it as public, then all the members and the member functions and the data members of the base class will be public for this derived class. Okay, if we write it as private, then all the member functions will be private for the derived class. Okay, so this is the derived class. And if we write it as protected, then all the members will be protected for the derived class. Okay, if we write it as private, then what will happen? Then we couldn't call these functions because this won't work, because within only this class, this private things are there, but outside this class we couldn't access it since it is in private mode. So this is the simple example to understand the program of inheritance. Now this is a table, you can check it later how this graph work. Okay, this is simple one. Now here another example to show how this works. Like class A, this is a base class, and here the X variable is public, Y is protected, Z is private. And we declare a subclass B where it is in public mode of inheritance. That is, A is public. That means the public members are public and Y is also protected, and Z could not be inherited because it is private. Okay, since it is private within the class A, it could not be inherited to any of the base class. And if we write it as class C, which is another derived class from A, and here if we write it as protected, then the public member X will become a protected thing, Y also will become a protected one, and Z is not accessible. And if we declare another derived class, that is D, from the base class A, and it is declared as private, then these members like the public, protected will become the private members, and also Z is not accessible. Okay, if Z is written as public, then it could be inherited. But if in a base class, if some variables are declared as private, it could not be inherited. So that is the core thing. And another thing is the types of inheritance, very important. The type of inheritance means if the inheritance can be in different types, like single inheritance, where there will be a single base class and one derived class. Okay, single base class and one derived class. And what is this multiple inheritance? Multiple inheritance means there will be two base class. If we have two base class and one derived class, then it is multiple inheritance. Then what is this multi-level inheritance? Multi-level means different levels are there. Level 1, level 2. That is, there will be a base class and there will be one derived class, and this derived class will act as the base class from another base class for another derived class. Okay. So that is the multi-level inheritance. A derived class is created from another derived class. Now hierarchical mode of inheritance means here more than one subclass is inherited from a single base class. There will be a single base class and there will be two derived class, and in this derived class there will be two another derived class, right? So this is the hierarchical. Now there is hybrid, that means it is a combination, right? Hybrid, that means the combining the hierarchical inheritance and the multiple inheritance. Hierarchical means single base class and multiple derived class. Whereas this hierarchical inheritance means what? So the multiple inheritance means what? So there will be two base class and one derived class. So this is the combining of this classes, which is the hybrid inheritance. So these are the different kinds of inheritance. Thank you.